𝐜𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐥.
Winter Anime 2024. We're here, baby. Let's go. Happy New Year's to you. Happy New Year's to you, your friends, and your family. I hope you're having a really good New Year so far. All right, let's not waste any time. So, seventh time loop. The villainess enjoys a carefree life, married to her worst enemy. Okay, so out front, let me get two things out the way. A, I love this anime. I'm totally vibing with it, and I can see that I'm going to be here for the long haul. Yes, even after episode 1, this is a must-watch of the season. Number 2, let me get this out the way. Let me talk about what I didn't like about the show so far, just so I can get that out the way, because that's really the only negativity point that I currently have. And it's not necessarily completely unique to this. It's not even completely unique to this specific show. It's any of these time loop, kind of shows. This one obviously takes it a little bit further than most, mainly being because this is the 7th time that this girl's looping. And that's basically where my one negativity point or my one negative point of this show comes is, does it take you 7 times to figure out how the hell to live your life? You know what I mean? Like, she keeps at the 5-year mark of any adventure, right? Whether it was a merchant, being an herbalist, being like a doctor, being, just an advisor, all the different lives that she ended up living, being a swordswoman, that one I understand. But let me tell you this. So she spends 5 years and she keeps getting dragged into a war, and she keeps dying in said war. It's like, well, you died the first time, okay? You died the first time getting dragged into the war. So her first loop, right? Her first real life, her first actual life, she got dragged into a war. Now, I don't know if you or me, like, if I'm getting dragged into a war, I know a war is coming. And I know that my biggest goal in life, get away from the prince, go do something, whatever. Each life she learned a different skill. Totally useful if you know you're going to continue living forever, even after you die. In normal folks, though, it's, if I know war coming, me drag into war, me avoiding war, So it's like, what are you doing in each of those loops? That's the only thing we didn't get. What are you doing in each of those loops to get dragged into said war? Especially when you're an herbalist or a doctor or a merchant, Maybe the merchant one I can kind of understand, selling wares on the battlefield, stuff like that. But the rest of them was like, well, what the F were you doing there? And it's like, well, you're telling me that, in each of those loops, right, she was in a merchant guild and then she went out on her own. Well, maybe you stay your ass there and maybe you didn't get dragged into the war, more favor in numbers. She was an herbalist. She went out and became an herbalist on her own. Well, maybe you should have done that. She was a doctor person, whatever, and medical person, and she did research, and, then she left the dude that she was doing research. Well, maybe you should have stayed there. It's like, well, what are you doing to keep getting dragged into a war? So that's my one negative point of the show is just, I just don't like that specific thing of like, well, like, how many chances you want, homegirl? And then on all those 7 loops, or I should get 6 loops, right? Well, I'm going to say 5 because she lived her first life, had no idea she was going to get a second chance. So that one we're going to throw away. And the one that she's in, we're going to throw away because that's the one we're going to live in now. But on those other 5 loops, you're telling me that you never wanted to find out or research, hey, why did I come back to life? That's the other surprising thing. So that's my negative point, and that's the story plot holes that I have is the lack of interest in figuring out how you're coming back to life after the age of 25 or whatever it is. And the second part is like, can you stop falling into the war, maybe? Like, I don't know, maybe make that a goal. Obviously, in her 7th life, she's like, my 7th life, I'm going to live forever, or, whatever. Okay. Anyways, okay, so, all right, that negativity is out the way. All right, let's talk about why we really like this show. So, I like this show. because I love villainous type shows, and I also like I also like the the looping stuff. I do enjoy somebody getting a second chance. Now 7 times might be a little bit much, but I do enjoy the second chance stuff to kind of try something else. And I do like in when Riche in her 7th time was like, oh, I'm gonna jump, like I'm gonna go jump off the balcony. Before I was going through the front door, like I need to take the shortest path there, which ended up not being the shortest path, but she's like, I'm gonna jump. And she finally just turns a corner that she never turned before. And by turning said corner, she ran into who would be not only her killer in the 6th loop, but also the crown prince / future emperor of this other kingdom, the kingdom that is going to spur the war that she keeps getting dragged into 6 times, because this dude is starting a world war, which is insane, or at least a continental war, whatever their world is in there currently. It's like, that's pretty insane. So she runs into him, and she leaves an indelible mark on him, because not only was it the way she was speaking, not only was it her demeanor, not only was it her predicament, not only was it the fact that she called him an emperor, not the crown prince. He's like, why are you calling me emperor? Like, if you know me, And then he sees her yeet herself off the balcony and just run, and he takes an immediate interest in her. Then he finds her later on, as the prince came and found her at the front door, and she puts him in his place. She puts the girl that she was being a villainess to in her place, and she's like, yo, you gotta live for yourself, baby girl. And he ends up finding her, and because of the way she comes up at him, her instincts of being a swordswoman and all the stuff that she's done before, her instincts kick in, and she like, wow, with the sword with him. And obviously even greater interest. Episode ends with him asking her to be his wife, which did he have a wife in the past loops? Did he have a fiance in the past loops? Did he have a future crown princess, future empress in the past loops? I mean, who knows? Maybe that's why he's so mad. Maybe he need a little bit of love. We don't know. But I find that concept so interesting of marrying your, the title says enemy, but really like marrying your person who's like the person you kind of are dying by. In one loop by his hand specifically, but the rest of them, he's the cause of all of it. It's like, whoa, what kind of interesting life is ahead of you if she accepts the engagement and then becomes the leader, empress, whatever, of the kingdom that causes the war. And I'm sure she has a lot of animosity because the war is the thing that keeps, taking her life. So it's like, I wonder what's the reason that they're causing this war? What's the driving force behind it? Can she get behind that driving force? Can she avoid the war? If she's a part of the people warring, is she gonna die again? You know what I mean? Like so many, like, if she has set loops, right? She has set paths, like, oh, go be this, die. Go be that, die. Just like it was before, herbalist, death, knight, death. It's like, oh, well, she has these set paths. When she heavily disrupts the path and takes the opposite of the path forward, what does that lead to? And I think that's what makes this show so interesting. Not only is there going to be romance and, potentially falling in love with the person who caused your demise. And like, obviously there's going to be a lot of intrigue and interest in that side of the coin, in that side of the pond. But the opposite side is like all the information, all the gaps that they can fill in for us as viewers. I think it's going to be a really cool ride here. And I think it's going to be one of my favorites of the season for sure. I can just tell that from the beginning. Even though there's a little negativity as far as the storytelling, I don't think that the story going forward that it's going to tell is going to be diminished or is going to lose any interest because of the kind of path of which we got there. You know what I mean? I think that the 6 loops and, the lives that she lived, even though I appreciate seeing them in episode 1. I think that's better than most animes do. We actually saw the lives that she lived. I think the story told was a little loosey-goosey, but I do think that the one we get forward is going to be juicy. So anyways, those are my thoughts on Seventh Time Loop. Let me know your guys' thoughts. Are you dropping it? Why? Are you going to watch it all season? Why? Are you a source reader? You're like, yo, this is it. This is the ish. This is the fire. Put that all in the comments below. But so far, really liking the show so far. I like her as a character. I do really enjoy the fact that she has all these different skills and stuff that she can bring to the table now. So she's gonna be like a badass empress if she decides to be one. Like, medical knowledge, merchant knowledge. She basically has knowledge to run a country now. She's a swordswoman. Like, Jesus. Last note is this is from Studio Kai. I just have to let you guys know the only thing that really Studio Kai has really done in the past before is they've done Prince of Tennis, they've done Captain Tsubasa, they've done Super Cub, and they've done Seven Seeds, which was one that I actually like. They're also doing a